I'm smoking that forbidden scroll. I'm smoking Bay of Pigs flavored Big Baby Cuban farts. I flipped a Hot Pocket into a multinational media conglomerate. We straight microwaving Pop-Tarts with the wrapper still on. I kicked a vending machine and it filed my taxes for me. I put the canned air in a paint shaker. I'm Himothy. I don't give a damn. I move like Jeffrey Epstein with a Kitty Costco membership.
What's this? What? No!
What are you doing?
We signed a peace treaty, Squidward.
Give me that peace treaty. There, let the war continue. Now, what are you going to do? Stop throwing snowballs!
This is where me mum turned into a lampshade, and over there is where me dad was a shoe. The Holly was a dark time for my family. Right over there, they swept me auntie up with the dustbin. Buy me book. I was not in the Holly, but I'm going to profit from it anyway. Excellent piece of literature if you're interested in bullshit.
Are you happy now with Germany getting conquered by Islam and all of your women getting raped? You're proud of this? Guys, look. Why? Why, guys? Why are you doing this?
It's just because
you've been brainwashed. Please, please, I'm trying to help you. We are a global minority. And if we continue to have attitudes like yourselves, it is very possible for our people to go extinct or be enslaved.
Are you a racist?
Yes. This is one of the saddest conversations I have ever had. 3 young men are willing to let their country and their people die, just not to be called racist.
Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Mossad, we're occupied by Zog. Will you kiss the wall for them? Sell your soul and do what you're told. 9. Will you kiss the wall for them? Sell your soul and do what you're told. 9. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich, Mossad. Du hast mich, Mossad. Du hast mich, Mossad. We're occupied by Zog. Sell your soul and do what you're told. 9. Will you kiss the wall for them? Sell your soul and do what you're told. 9.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday night. It is hump day. We're halfway through the week already, and we've got banger after banger after banger to talk about today. Not quite so heavy on the drama train, though I am having to instigate my own drama to talk about in the GunTube sphere, but it's really fun because it gives us interesting things to discuss. Of course, we'll do our little opener on Iran and the different silly little things happening in politics around the world. Glad to see everybody in chat right now, hanging out on X, YouTube, and Rumble. Once again, you should be at least following me on Rumble just in case we ever get a little bit too spicy. A little too spicy for the YouTube overlords as they are. So you should definitely follow me over there. But before we get into the festivities and the fun, we ought to say hi to Richard. How's your night going?
Good. Had a long drive today, but made it safely. Picked up my parents from the airport, and everybody's safe and sound in the house. So it was a good day. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good. Glad to hear it. I saw you were live earlier doing another fireside chat over on the Richard's Headspace channel, which everybody should go check out. I popped in for a minute, but I was very busy putting together the intro and everything else. So I didn't get to hang. But, well, why don't we start off with something that's just based posting, okay? Based posting from Florida women. We hear a lot from Florida man, but not quite as much from Florida women, all right? And I know that people are putting the logs in the chat right now, I'm sure. But yes, Florida woman calls police on neighbor for having a British accent. We won that war, and he knows it. Now, honestly, I also, if I had British neighbors, right, what starts with N and ends with R, and you should never call a black person? Neighbor. Boom. But got him. Anyways, but British people these days not looking so British. So maybe that was actually a good thing. Now, really important, perhaps the most important story to talk about tonight is going to be what's her bail? Hit up Jordan Jerb. He already has her number. Okay, he's already talking to her. So you're behind the 8 ball already. Get a move on. Okay. If you want to pick up a based one. Now, this is probably the most important story to talk about today, but this is why 2026 marks the return of Jade to meaning. That's right, 2026, the year of Jade. We are Jade Maxing. This is a Jade-sponsored podcast. We are J-pilled, you could even say, right? I bet a lot of people in chat are J-pilled. It's no problem, but I'm sure that this, it's Jade, okay? It's just straight up Jade. Brilliant, instant impact, materials chosen to be noticed first. J-pilled, noticing. All right. I think this is going to be the year of the Jade for many reasons. So I think everybody should be investing. Jade stonks are up and above, and we should be looking into that for sure. Now, I love it when this sort of thing pops off for some reason. Every 10 years, somebody says, oh, by the way, did you know what conspiracy theorists, quote unquote conspiracy theorists, have been saying for a decade is just objectively true. So every now and again, it gets 20 million views on Twitter, retweeted, posted everywhere. It's like the CIA accused of poisoning the sky with toxins as files expose secret weather control. It's like, yep, these documents were declassified in 2003. That Lyndon B. Johnson authorized the CIA to do testing weather-altering chemicals in the sky to be used as a weapon of war. And his quote is, those who control the weather control the world, right? So I love how it's like clockwork, okay? You're running out of stories. It's a slow news week. So you have to just recycle the things that we already know that we're doing, right? And that is the CIA loop, right? You deny that you're doing the thing. You call everybody a conspiracy theorist. You discredit everybody who says that you're doing it. Enough time goes by, you declassify it and say, yeah, we were always doing that thing. That's just how it goes. So once again, 2026, we're still weather posting for the CIA. Great. Well, now moving over to something a little bit more pertinent to us in this day and time, and that is going to be Israel and Iran and the conflict that we are unfortunately drawn into. Now, this is from Bricks Info earlier today. You can see that that is Iranian oil fields and Iranian oil infrastructure on fire. Very importantly, we asked, which I do find it offensive that the United States is even in the position to ask Israel to do anything. It's like, oh, could you please don't hit their oil infrastructure, as that will cause even further destabilization and cause them to escalate the conflict and continue to, hit all of our allies in the region. Could you please not do that? And Israel's like, nah, we're going to do it anyways. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Admic says the U.S. doesn't buy oil from Iran. Hope this helps. Yep, nope, totally get it. However, it is a vital resource for Iran. So Iran has to retaliate by hitting all of our bases and all of our allies in the Gulf. Hope that helps, buddy. Thanks, though. Which is, of course, going to help to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, which is going to escalate their actions there, which will affect our oil prices here because, again, 20% of the world's energy comes through the strait. So we asked Israel, please don't hit their oil infrastructure. We took out military assets on Karg Island, right? But we didn't hit their oil. We very specifically did not hit their oil infrastructure on Karg Island. I wonder why we did that. And Israel is just being a rogue actor in the Middle East as usual. They're not beholden to us. They're not beholden to literally anyone. In fact, you could say the opposite is probably true, that we're beholden to them. And they continue to operate with impunity. And no one so far has been willing to just tell them no. All right. Yeah, that's true. It's very true. Thank you, Slim. Appreciate it. Now, listen. Funny meme here. Funny picture. I have yet to see a more tumultuous time for the Trump administration as far as messaging goes. I hear at least four different conflicting messages every day. All right. So this was posted yesterday. Officials say that President Donald Trump plans to take full control of the Strait of Hormuz by force in a move that could also last several weeks. Of course it would, because you would have to have, of course, naval presence and probably land presence as well to actually secure the strait. And again, we have somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 Marines heading towards the area in an amphibious battle group. So that could be a likely possibility. But then again, your enemy can't know your next move if you don't know your next move. This was from today. President Trump has now considered pulling out from the Strait of Hormuz, forcing U.S. allies to defend it. So what is the plan? No idea. But again, the enemy can't know your plans if you don't know them yourself. And while all of this is going on, President Trump is saying, if the price of gas rises, then let it rise. I'm not concerned. Now, he'll say he's not concerned while boasting about oil prices every day. So again, the peak was around 120. Today, it has gone up a little bit. It's been hovering around 95 and is currently sitting just under 100. Again, the longer the conflict goes on, the longer the strait remains closed, the more aggressive Iran's attacks are against people in the Gulf and, of course, ourselves, the higher that price will go. The higher the price, the better it is for Russia, because Russia loves high oil prices because, again, it's one of their biggest exports. They make a lot of money with them. And wasn't it Belgium the other day that was saying, hey, we actually need to cool down our alliance or our anti-Russia rhetoric because we might eventually need to start buying from them instead. So this actually makes Russia a stronger player in the region. So this is bad for us, good for everybody else. And also, as a bit of a distraction here, as of today, just in, U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency quietly purchased aliens.gov domain name. Now, this is really funny. And again, this is yesterday. They purchased aliens.gov, which, if they're planning on some other distraction, right? So you have the distraction from the Epstein files, which is Iran, right? So nobody's talking about that anymore. Nobody cares about that anymore. We're in war with Iran. Oh, the war in Iran's not going so good. It's not looking hot for us. This could be another, lifetime in the Middle East. Congratulations. How about aliens, dog? And we've been talking about aliens for 3, 4, 5 years now, at least as far as the federal governments go, with, you know, different UAP hearings and different stuff, different documents declassified, and all the little hints here and there that aliens will at some point also be a distraction on the table. Do I think aliens are real? No, I think that's very silly. Do I think that there's some futuristic tech out there that we're not aware of as American citizens? Of course. Of course. But yeah, people are pretty upset about this war in Iran. What should we do? Tell them that aliens exist. That's right. Jangle the keys. Great image. Jangle the keys in front of my base. They'll love this one. Now, talking about people who did not love it at all, actually, from today, or yesterday, I should say. Trump's director of national counterterrorism, Kent, resigns. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. And again, that is the director of national counterterrorism, former Green Beret, deployed many times, I think 11 deployments throughout his career. Also, interesting, he's a Gold Star husband, meaning that he lost his wife overseas in Syria, I believe, to ISIS. So he actually lost his wife in a terrorist act, and he, again, deployed many times himself, was the director for National Counterterrorism Center, and has now resigned because of Trump's actions in Iran. After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been an honor serving under POTUS and DNIG Aberd and leading the professionals at NCTC. May God bless America. Now, of course, the fallout to this has been immense with the generic, what is now the MAGA base, which is Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and a bunch of other rather Semitic sounding people. That is the new MAGA base, or the new MIGA base, as it's being called. And the actual people who were behind Trump in 2016, 2020, 2024, the grassroots movement, those have all been pushed to the side. Now, Joe Kent did do an interview today, right before we were streaming, I think about 6 o'clock, with Tucker Carlson. And so we'll let him, in his own words, explain to you his thoughts on the matter.
I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. How did you reach that conclusion?
I think this is key. I mean,
also, I should mention that 11 tours, a lot of action. Having like fat, obese Jewish politicians calling him a coward for not supporting the war in Iran, it just seems ironic, right? It just seems wrong. You know, it's like you're calling this guy's the coward in this situation, as you're sending, like, you know, me and my brothers and sisters and sons and daughters to go die in a foreign war, and you're calling us the coward? That makes me want to excise you from my country. You know, you're not endearing yourself to the public when you do stuff like this. You're spending a lot of political capital.
This would be more challenging to explain had the Secretary of State, the President, and the Speaker of the House not come out and said that we conducted this attack at this time because the Israelis were about to do so. So that takes away the argument that there was an imminent threat, as in Iran was planning to attack us immediately. That just simply did not exist.
May I ask you to pause? Sure. And so I've heard people say that, and this just happened, but history has a way of getting rewritten in real time. And then you look back 10 or 15, 20, 25 years later, and no one seems to understand the things that you saw because they've been eliminated. Yeah. So I think it's important to stop and say, here's what we actually know. So I'd like now, if we could, just to play one of the statements that you alluded to, and that's from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State.
So again, this is also, if you trust the polls, that I don't know who they're polling for this. Again, the idea that like 90 to 95 to 85% of Trump's base supports him, I'm pretty sure they might only be grabbing people that are already like Trump cultists, right? Who are going to side with Trump no matter what. Like Trump famously in 2016 made the joke that he could shoot somebody in New York City on the street and his people wouldn't leave him. And he's not wrong about that. So there is definitely a cult of personality about Trump. And if you are just a MAGA dude, you are just a Trump dude no matter what, then yeah, of course you're going to support anything he does. But that's like 5% of the population. That true MAGA cult is very, very small compared to his wider base, the big grassroots movement behind him in 2016, especially, that believed that he could actually make America great again. Now, we were all deceived. We were all naive for believing that could even be possible for a political figure to do such a thing. But again, you have to be like a hardcore cultist to actually follow him to that level.
This was shortly after this war commenced. And he was explaining as is his habit, in a thoughtful, precise way.
Yep.
Why? Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we polled 90% of Jews in Israel say that they support Israel. Therefore, everybody supports Israel. He's not losing his base. Meanwhile, there's like riots going on in Israel right now because of the war. Where does Bibi, by the way?
Action.
Yeah, where does Bibi, by the way?
We knew that and didn't act.
Okay, so that is his almost contemporaneous explanation, and it's not offhand. He reasons it out. He explains there's a logic chain there, and he says, we knew not that Iran was going to attack. He did not say that.
Right.
He said we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran, and in retaliation for those attacks by Israel against Iran, Iran might attack American forces. So the imminent threat that the Secretary of State is describing is not from Iran, it's from Israel.
Yes, and this is the thing that you may not like the phrasing of it, but yes, the threat was caused by Israel attacking first preemptively and going in there with or without the U.S. Now, allegedly, they've tried this with the last 3 or 4 presidents, and they've always been told no, and then surprise, surprise, they just didn't actually attack, right? Because they weren't going to get American support, and they didn't want to do that. However, Trump was the first person to say yes, right? And so they finally got what they wanted with Trump. And I mean, you could look at some of his donors, whether that's Miriam Adelson. You can look at his half-son, Jared Kushner, and, losing his daughter to Judaism and a bunch of other things, and kind of see why he might be, I mean, the first person outside of a actual Jew to win Jew of the Year, right? Or what was that award that he won that he was the first non-Jew to actually win? Right? Remember that, Richard?
I remember the award. I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, he was the first non-Jewish person to ever win that.
Let me look that up real fast because it's funny. First non-Israeli to be crowned his country's most prestigious award, the Israeli Prize, or the Israel Prize.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to the broader issue. Who is in charge of our policy in the Middle East? Who is in charge of when we decide to go to war or not? In this case, with what the secretary described, and later on the president, later on the Speaker of the House, and the way the events played out, the Israelis drove the decision to take this action, which we knew would set off a series of events, meaning the Iranians would retaliate. Now, I think there's a potential there where we could have done several different things. We could have simply said to the Israelis, no, you will not. And if you do, then we will take something away from you. I think that it's fine that we offer defense to Israel. But when we're providing the means for their defense, we get to dictate the terms of when they go on the offensive. Otherwise, they stand to lose that relationship. And the Israelis felt emboldened that no matter what they did, no matter what situation they put us in, that they could go ahead and take this action.
Yes, he's simultaneously a Gen X boomer and a bussin' for real, no cap with his yee-yah haircut.
We would just have to react.
I cannot.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that some people are coping and saying that no, Israel did not get us into the war in Iran, and even to say so is anti-Semitic. Actually, I have a post for that real fast. So, of course, ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt says anyone who blames Israel for the war against Iran is automatically considered anti-Semitic. Okay, fair enough. There we go. Anyways, Israel is responsible for getting us into a war with Iran. Right, that just is true. They upped the time scale. They pushed us in. They're the reason why we are currently fighting right before the midterms. And I think that will. Okay, I mean, I don't know how much you care about day-to-day politics, right? It's all lame loser stuff, but certainly not going to go well for the Republican Party in the midterms. All right, and rounding that off real fast before we get to actually something fun to talk about. Gun stuff, okay? Real gun news, some fun gun news. We have Randy Fines issuing or arguing for a hate crime fine, 5 years in jail for anti-Israel flyers. Freedom of speech? No, thank you. Not when it's anti-Semitic, at least. Whatever that means.
Holding people accountable without violating their free speech.
Sure. And again, I would remind you that there's no First Amendment right to conduct. There's a First Amendment right to speech, and the things that we're targeting.
Right. So already we're very dangerously blurring the line here. It's like a flyer or a sign is not speech. That's conduct, and that's hate conduct. So that's going to be a 5-year prison sentence. You know, what would be at worst, you could say like vandalism, I guess, if you hang up posters somewhere where they're not supposed to, or on public property or private property, right? That'd be vandalism, right? But no, we're going to elevate that to a hate crime and make it 5 years. This is not going to make you look favorable, right? This is not going to do the things that you want it to do. You want to stop anti-Semitism by being the most insufferable people possible and arguing for the worst most draconian laws possible, and you think this is going to somehow make you look popular. And I'm not, I just, if I were a betting man, I would just look at the patterns throughout history and say the same thing that has happened in the past, maybe over 100 times, is just going to happen again. It's just going to happen over and over and over and over again as a continual fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecies about the Jewish people.
In the bill are not speech. Again, if someone wants to stand across the street from my house and wave a sign on the sidewalk, they have every right to do that, and this bill won't have anything to do with that. But when it veers into conduct, and so the way we're going to approach this is through a hate crime kicker.
Yeah, burning the American flag is speech. Poster that says, I don't want to die for Israel, or Israel got us into war with Iran, directly to jail, surprisingly.
So if you graffiti a building, it is a crime now. But if your motivation is hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in prison. If you want to litter, it's a crime right now. But if you litter and if your motivation is a hate crime, it will be a third-degree felony.
Yeah, so that's what they're arguing. They're arguing that, okay, well, technically putting a flyer up at worst would be littering. But if it's something mean, if it's something that I don't like, then it's going to be a hate crime, which really, it's just anything that is not pro-white or anything that is not anti-white, right? Because anti-white would be fine. Anti-white is based according to these types of people. But if it is either pro-white or anti-anyone else, that is hate speech. And that is the dual legal system that we are currently under, as people have properly coined tyranny.
You will spend 5 years in jail. It is a crime right now to hang banners from an interstate. For obvious reasons, we don't want to distract drivers. But if you do that and you have a hate crime, a hate motivation, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail.
Yeah, I mean, I just hate the premise of we're now doing thought crimes. We have thought crime enhancements, right? Murder is bad, but if you do a hate murder, it's badder or something like that. And I'm not saying that motivation never plays or never should play a role in sentencing, right? Because obviously there's a difference between like manslaughter, which would be like accidental death, or like intentional homicide or premeditated homicide. So there is some delineation there, but we're talking about, at the end of the day, the punishment should fit the crime, right? So if I slap a flyer on a tree in a park and it says like, damn, I don't want to die for Israel, it should be a fine at worst, right? Under vandalism, not, oh, well, actually, that's lay heckin' anti-Semitic hate crime, young man. So you are going to jail for forever for that. Gluing pennies to the floor is actually a hate crime or a hate symbol, according to the ADL. So, yes, you can go to jail for a long, long time about that. So better be careful doing your heckin' anti-Semitisms out there.
Well, what
Now-
happens if he does it in the road and they're out there trying to pull it up and they get hit by a car? Does he get charged for a hate crime murder?
It's surprisingly, they actually cancel each other out. So it would have been a hate crime for the gluing the penny, but because the guy died and won a Darwin Award doing it, or not a Darwin, it should be a Darwin Stein Award or something, which is when you die in a stupid way while chasing money or something. They actually cancel each other out. Little known fact. All right, now speaking of Semitic soldier systems, well, actually not quite, but I mean, we do have a little bit of gun news here to talk about. We have the new XM8, and unfortunately, no, not the cool XM8 that you guys were thinking of, not the XM8 that you guys wanted, that I remember playing like old Rainbow Six games from back in the day, like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. The cool XM8, no, we get something far worse, right? So this is the XM8 I grew up with. How dare you stand where you stood? Very true. And now we have the modern Netflix version of that. So the U.S. Army, exactly. The U.S. Army designates carbine version of M7 NGSW rifle as the XM8. Now, we kind of covered this system earlier, like months ago, I think, honestly. And what it is the normal XM7 or the M7. Up top is a 13-inch 6.8x51, of course. Problems with it was that it was overhitting the terminal ballistics, like the minimum requirements for that. So it was pushing projectiles faster than it really needed to. The problem was that it was very heavy. As everybody said, of course, having a 10-pound naked rifle, whatever the system actually was, I think it's 10 pounds with the sort of SIG suppressor. 10 pounds naked rifle before optics, before ammunition, and a lot less ammo, a lot heavier ammo, is going to be a problem. So the solution to that, no, young man, it is not the M4. It is the new XM8, which we go from a 13-inch barrel down to a 10-inch barrel. So a 10-inch barrel is still throwing, I think, 113 grain projectiles, about 3,000 FPS due to the hybrid case technology and the higher pressure. Real higher pressure rounds, by the way, not whatever 110 SAS was cooking up. And a few other add-ons to make the XM8 about a pound and a half lighter than the current XM7 or current M7 program. So you do get a lot of that weight back. You get a much shorter package. It's a little handier. Recoil, I'm sure, is not going to be fun. I'm sure, it'll be fine because it's essentially 308 plus, but still has the reduced ammo capacity, still has the much heavier, per round weight. Combine that together with a system that's not particularly accurate, even though it has DMR-like terminal effects. I don't know. I'm personally not sold on it because I was never sold on the M7. So I don't know why, making it even smaller and lighter, although while that is still a nice thing to have, of course, but it doesn't solve my ammo restrictions or recoil or difficulty of use or inaccuracy or the fact that it's made by SIG. It doesn't solve any of those root problems. Last month, the U.S. Army designated the XM8 and issued a national stock number and a blah, 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 featuring a 10-inch barrel, XM8 bottom, and weighs 7.3 pounds versus the 8.3 of the M7 with the 13.5 barrel. So we only save 1 pound. Developed by 6 Hour as part of the product improvement effort, it is a carbine version of the M7 rifle, along with the M250 automatic rifle. These weapons are being issued to the U.S. Army's close combat forces as part of the next generation squad weapon program, and they're both chambered in 6.8x51. Although the main changes to the XM8 are the shorter tapered barrel, it is a lighter profile as well. It also eliminates the side-folding buttstock for a fixed telescoping stock like the M4, and features a few changes in the upper receiver group to eliminate weight. I believe they did take out a bunch of weight from the bolt carrier group as well, and that combined with the lighter profile barrel, which probably isn't going to help accuracy, combined with the shorter barrel, gives us that pound. Many had anticipated the Pi variant to be designed as the M7A1, but this move falls more in line with the M16 and M4 as distinct weapons. We will see an M7A1 in the future, which is probably true. Probably true. But so here we go, officially adopted, and we knew about this. We've seen this floating around for a while, but now officially designated as the XM8 as it's in testing, and eventually just will have the M8 if it actually gets fully adopted. What if we just use a SOP mod block too? Yeah, what if we just didn't? That's the problem with big budgets. Big budgets have to be used, dude. Have to be used. So they might as well do something with all that money we're giving them, and that is, of course, the NGSW program, which is not just the weapon. It's also the ammunition, and also is not featured here in this article, the machine guns as well. And again, the machine guns I actually like quite a bit more. Go ahead, Richard.
I just like to think that they handed these to the troops and they said, well, I don't like it. It sucks and it's heavy. And they handed it back to SIG, and SIG went back to the drawing board and they brought it back and they said, here, we made it lighter. They didn't fix any of the other issues that they were having with it.
Well, I mean, again, the whole requirements of the platform was about 3,000 FPS with whatever projectile they want. They were going to go with for their platform. So with the 68x51, they don't actually need 13 inches. They only need about 10.5 inches to get it to that 3,000 FPS number. These are all going to be shipped with a suppressor. Now, if they're also going with the XM157, which is the combo laser rangefinder scope, unit from Vortex, it's still going to be 11 pounds with just the optic before ammo or any other sort of lights, lasers, anything else that they're adding to it. So these are still not light weapons. However, 7 pounds roughly naked for a 308 battle rifle type gun is kind of cool, especially in such a short platform. So as a civilian, as an individual, that seems kind of neat. But if you're a soldier out there fighting, I feel like you'd much rather take the ammo capacity, low recoil, and lighter weight, and honestly more accurate as well, because basically all the reports that we're hearing from these is that they're not particularly accurate, even though they have, DMR sniper-like terminal effects, because 68x51 is very terminally effective. So don't get that confused, right? It is very terminally effective, especially versus 5.56, but we just rather have more ammo, less weight, yada, 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 yada. Parts compatibility, not breaking, more accurate, so on and so forth. All right. Well, moving on from SIG for a moment, let's talk about Geisley, shall we? Now, this is actually a very interesting article published today, and this is something I was not aware of. I had a very kind gentleman send this in to me for us to go over here, but this is the Army, Geisley, and Carpenter. Now, Carpenter makes, of course, the Carpenter 158 steel that is used in mil-spec bolts. Carpenter and Geisley already have a partnership to make their forged Carpenter 158 Plus bolt, their stress-proof bolt that is in all Super Duties. That is basically the best bolt, or one of the best bolts on the market, boasting, anywhere from 4 to 5 times the normal service life of a standard mil-spec bolt, which is quite good. So Geisley and Carpenter already have this history of developing special materials specifically for Geisley and for military contracts. And now they're doing the same thing, but with a brand new barrel steel, so hopefully we actually get to see this in the civilian market at some point, unlike what Sons of Liberty Gunworks did with the Armad steel in their Mark I, where it is simply not in the civilian version, which is gay. The U.S. Army inked partnerships with Geisley Automatics and Carpenter Technology to develop next-generation small arms barrel using GNB 200 alloy and a new rifle profile. Now, I want to look up that material when we get there. All right. The partnerships, formalized through cooperative research and development agreements signed in 2022, aim to solve barrel wear and durability problems created by higher pressure ammunition in modern weapon systems. Now, it is very interesting why they're partnering with Geisley and Carpenter for this when their next weapon system is their current weapon system, I should say, is being developed by Sig Sauer, specifically with high pressure ammunition. So is this for a different weapon system entirely? Is Geisley going to be supplying barrels for an updated contract? Like, what is going on here? Why wouldn't they put this in SIG's hands, or are they just trying to diversify their portfolio a little? Geisley has handled the manufacturing side. The company Coldhammer forged the barrels, directed coating alternatives and specifications, conducted performance testing, and developed manufacturing parameters. Carpenter Technology developed the GNB 200 alloy formulation and provided material samples for testing. Now, the GNB 200 alloy, and this is what they're calling the new profile. I personally am a big fan of the Geisley taper profile. It's a very balanced profile. It's relatively lightweight, not a true lightweight, but it's relatively lightweight. Good blend of accuracy, durability, all that sort of fun stuff. The new profile, I'm going to call the F profile because I'm not reading all that every time it comes up. So GNB 200 is described as a premium remelted alloy steel specifically formulated for high temperature wear resistance, right? So good mechanical properties at high temperatures, which is the hotter you get a barrel, the faster it will wear out, generally speaking, right? So that's why you use coatings, whether it's nitride or chrome, that have a more stable mechanical property. And improve wear resistance compared to legacy barrel materials. The alloy operates near the upper limit of what can be reliably cold hammer forged, which is where Geisley's expertise comes in. And now cold hammer forging is an interesting process. We could probably do a whole stream on this, just watching them actually manufacture barrel blanks via cold hammer forging machines. It's a more intensive process, but once you get it set up, you can run them pretty efficiently, right? Which is why a lot of like overseas manufactured barrels are cold hammer forged. It's difficult to get it going, but once you get it going, the economy at scale is rather good. Now, the F profile, developed collaboratively with Geisley, reduces wear and improves dispersion. The profile received a patent in October 2025. Now, I'm going to Google this real fast and see if I can figure out what it actually looks like. Now, the next generation weapons operate at significantly higher pressures than legacy platforms. Think 80,000 psi versus 55, or I should say up to 80,000 psi, which accelerates barrel wear, corrosion, and pressure buildup. The Army also needed to eliminate hazardous hexavalent chromium coatings traditionally used in military barrels. The GNB 200 alloy and new profile address both problems. I wonder, so they are getting rid of chrome coatings? Is that what I'm hearing? They needed to eliminate hexavalent chromium coatings? Third year tested was completed on M240L machine guns in spring of 2025. The Carpenter CRADA has since expired, while Geisley's CRADA was renewed for 3 additional years to continue coating development. Geisley acquired the 240 lightweight and 240 LWS designs from Barrett Firearms in 2020 and has begun working on long life forged barrels and nano weapon coating for machine gun applications. All right. Daniel Clare, the design principles investigator, stated that the CRADAs are a good way to influence the industry so that as systems are developed to meet Army requirements, the industry is ready with aligned solutions. That's the practical value here when the Army eventually fields next-gen systems with higher pressure loads. Geisley and other manufacturers using GNB 200 alloy will already have production-ready barrels that meet military specs. The civilian market typically follows military adoption for high-performance components, so expect to see GNB 200 alloy barrels in commercial rifles once the Army fully adopts the tech. Geisley already manufactures cold hammer chrome-lined barrels for its commercial Super Duty line and government contract rifles. The company's involvement in next-gen barrel development signals the future Geisley rifles may incorporate, which would be really cool, the GNB 200 alloy and F41 blah, 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 military profile once the military testing concludes. Cool. I'm always excited to see new material tech come along because, again, it does seem, whether we like it or not, that the future is high pressure, right? Not only is SIG have the contract for the high pressure ammunition, but I am sure there are lots of other manufacturers floating around that may or may not be chasing similar or new contracts regarding high pressure munitions. Black Hills, Badlands, any of the other ones that are sitting out there, I'm sure are also working on this exact same thing. But some of the workarounds to deal with that higher pressure is we got to figure out how do we hold all of that in a barrel without insanely reduced barrel life, where we're only getting a couple thousand rounds out of a barrel where we used to get 10 to 20,000 rounds out of it with standard pressure ammo, right? So hopefully this new proprietary metal or just new blend is going to handle that enhanced wear over the long term.
I'm wondering if the hexavalent chromium exposure is increased because of the higher pressures. Like if the barrels themselves are heating up and cooling down, oxidizing quicker, if that's causing an increased exposure, and that's why they're going with this new alloy, is to try and avoid that because of the higher pressures.
That I'm not sure. Let's see. So can I see? I'm trying to find the patent. That's not right. 1999? No way.
Yeah, I'm sure it accelerates the wear on the chrome, but I'm not sure if it's like to what degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure the extra speed and the extra pressure is going to cause issues, especially around the chamber and like the throat area. But like, to what degree is that actually causing an issue? And I know,
well, it is. So in the reports with even the M7, they needed to hit a target barrel life of about 10,000 rounds, but that has been limited in some cases all the way down to 2,500 rounds, right? So it is significantly cut down real world barrel life.
Yeah, that's a drastic reduction.
Yeah, which is now we need workarounds in better coatings. Now we need better materials to actually handle that enhanced, because speed kills. Speed really does kill when it comes to that. So you're accelerating projectiles, projos, as gay people would say, faster and faster and faster. And it, that heat, that energy has got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a link to the patent itself, and I can't find the patent because I'm actually curious if it's just like a updated taper profile or what it exactly looks like. As far as you can just go to Carpenter's website over here and you can look at their the GNB 200 alloy. So it's premium melted alloy steel specifically formulated for applications requiring high mechanical strength compared with very high toughness at minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The clean microstructure produced by arc AOD melting followed by vacuum arc refining allows for the development of very tough properties. The tempering temperatures makes GNB 200 suitable for applications that see temperatures up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite hot. You shouldn't, getting your barrel up to 1,000 degrees, you can do that, right? It's probably not recommended all the time. The toughness of GB at negative 40 makes GNB suitable for applications in very cold environments, blah, blah, blah. Supply it either way. So let's see, carbon content, anything else interesting? Does it give me the mechanical properties of it anywhere? Just like the generic? Interesting. Give me a data sheet on it. 168 yield. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that is very high yield and tensile. Most, like when I was in the steel industry, most of the stuff that we would use, like 4140, 4150 was like 100K yield. 160 is very high.
Yeah.
60 is very, very high. Because, I think our targets were somewhere around 100 to 110, depending on the heat lot, right? Depending on the MTR.
And did it have the rough composition of what they use for as far as alloys?
The stuff we were just looking at, Richard, for GNB 200 or for what I used?
The GNB 200.
Yeah, no, it has it right here.
Okay.
That's what's actually in it right there. So you have your carbon content, everything else, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Very cool. I like to see the tech moving forward in a positive way. And again, that's the thing. You develop high pressure cases are easy to do, right? We can get a lot of PSI into one of these cases, okay? Steel case technology has been around since a long time, okay? So we definitely have the ability to load up really high pressure rounds, but it needs to actually be able to have the durability to match a military application, right? To actually hit those target thresholds. So let's see here. Well, now let's talk about something else that's super interesting. Magnets. How do they work? I'm not sure. I don't know. But this is a little bit of I wasn't expecting drama because I've never dealt with this guy before. But this is actually Frytech. Fry from Frytech is a very, very interesting person, to say the least. So I got tagged in this post about magnet buffers, which is interesting enough. So the way that the system is, I guess, supposed to work is you have opposing magnets, no springs, no weights, It's all just magnets and like a sealed system, right? That then operate in, I suppose, the exact same way within a buffer tube as a spring would. But again, instead of a spring, instead of a buffer, you just have magnets, which is interesting. So I got tagged in this by somebody, and I was like, oh, that seems like a really silly product for a problem that doesn't exist. You know, like a spring is going to last you, what, 10,000 cycles, 20,000 cycles, 1,000,000 cycles. I know Geisley claims like 1,000,000 cycles on their Geisley 42 systems. So while it's interesting, it's not important, I would say. Like it's a novel piece of tech, but I don't know how it's going to work better than just a properly gassed rifle with appropriate buffers and springs. And he crashed out a little bit just because I responded to the gentleman who tagged me and said it seems like a hilarious product, which it does. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it does seem to have the possibility of being quite silly. Now, this is the guy's actual page here, and I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of a taste of what we're dealing with.
All right. 24. Going to the range hopefully tomorrow. Pretty sure I will be going there. So expect a live feed.
Now that's cool that he's, out testing his product, but when I think, oops, shoot, can't show that on YouTube. When I think novel engineering and tech, let me make it small for a second. Novel engineering and tech, this guy is not exactly what I'm thinking of, all right? And this is actually a perfect encapsulation of the sort of meth engineering going on. Is the 7.62x39 AR with magnets in the rear, with no trigger guard on the bottom of it, and the designer is looking a little rough. Okay, now you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. You should hope that he's doing well. I hope he's successful in his endeavors, of course, but he just has that look. And if you scroll through his feed for a minute, it's like nonstop. He tweets like 100 times a day. Yeah, mechanical engineering. Now, going to the website looks significantly more professional. So this is just the picture that he has, which is not a great picture. But just wait. All right, it is printed because it's the Frytech, has this Frytech logo on it, and it sounds like it's not the only thing he's fried, if you know what I'm saying. Our patented technology is a springless recoil system designed to replace traditional AR buffer assemblies using a precision stack of repelling neodymium magnets inside a sealed buffer tube. This system manages recoil with 0 mechanical springs, 0 lubrication, and no internal wear components. This drop-in magnetic solution delivers smoother recoil absorption, consistent cycling, and reduces maintenance, ideal for suppressed builds, high reliability rifles, and next-generation AR platforms. This is a novel solution that nobody needs for anything. Now, I'm sure it feels novel and interesting with no spring, so the recoil impulse is certainly going to be different. And I imagine the way that it works kind of like a spring, because you have all these opposed magnets. As the gun cycles, all of these things get closer together, which then, of course, increases the tension or the repulsion, right, of the magnets themselves. So it's going to act like a spring bottoming out, but maybe it's a little smoother, and I don't know how it deals with bolt bounce, because that's kind of the nice thing about having those steel or tungsten weights inside of a buffer, is that they act to reduce bolt bounce. I don't know if these are going to do the exact same thing. It's just neat, So, is it actually? Oh my gosh!
Oh wow!
Do not mount your scope like that for your product photos, dude. I am also curious because how do I add tension if I want to add tension? Right? how do I, like, if I go from, 300 blackout suppressed to, subsonic to supersonic, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to increase the tension. How do I do that? Do I throw in another, you add a magnet? But because it should be a sealed system. I'm pretty sure that's what he says. It's a sealed system. You're not supposed to, like, take them all out. They just go flying everywhere because the system's under tension.
What if I apply my gunsmith degree and use my Dremel to unseal it and see what's inside of it?
I mean, you can. Yeah, I'm sure it is just a bunch of magnets in there. Like, I don't think he's lying about that. I think it is a bunch of magnets in there. But what I'm saying is that it's essentially a set spring rate. Obviously, there's no spring, but it's a set tension rate, a set return rate. So if you want to modify it in any way, shape, or form, you can't do that. So again, it's novel. It's interesting.
It reminds me of the Jerry Miculek magnetic buffer thing that they had a while back.
But that still has a spring in it, right?
Yeah.
It just uses magnets to, like, slow it down and speed it up in the, it's
the initial, the peak of stroke.
Peak stroke.
Yeah.
People have called me peak stroke before. Really? No. Anyways, let me see here real fast. So, but even that, like, it makes sense to combo, springs and buffers and hydraulics, right? So, there are plenty of hydraulic buffers floating around that do the job that some people swear by. Kinshot makes some for 9mm that people love for their PCCs. You have all sorts of different delay systems. But even a hydraulic buffer within a buffer tube, you can still swap out the spring for whatever you want. And so it's a dual action between a hydraulic and a buffer. Or if you use, like, the CAC K-spec buffers, that's a 2-stage buffer. So it has another spring detent in the head of the buffer itself. So you get a little bit of additional cushion, I guess, or like a 2-stage system that's going to soften at the highest part of the recoil, or the lowest part of the recoil. So, I mean, you can look through the pictures here. It says compatible with mil-spec stocks, replaces mil-spec buffer tube and spring, 7075, blah, blah, blah. Now, this chart here is not helpful at all. Flash hider, reduced recoil, no buffer noise, no gas blowback. Brake and comp, most reduced recoil, no buffer noise. Suppressor, reduced recoil, no buffer noise.
Oh, this looks like a video game. Looks like he's trying to appeal to the people from the video games, like when they're trying to select different.
Oh, yeah. Like, the different attachments have add different characteristics to it.
Yes. So, I hate that.
Now, this is allegedly what it looks like inside of the system. I wish we could. Obviously, this is YouTube, so I can't just have him pulling one out of a firearm. But I wish I could, like, see how it actually works. Again, would I buy one? Like, maybe, but is it serious? No, it's a novelty. It's unique. It's cool. If you buy one of these and you're like, I just wanted to try it out, see how it felt, because there is no tunability with it. Now, I wonder, do magnets degrade over time? Again, I literally don't know how magnets work. So if they do degrade over time, then you still have to replace them.
And they degrade with heat too.
Yeah, I don't know how much heat is going to be in the back of a buffer tube. There's going to be some, but not that much. There's not that much heat transfer.
Well, there's heat transfer from the actual currents, right? The currents that build up from the.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah. But here he has these numbers that he pushes out.
What I think it's called.
But he has this numbers that he puts out in terms of, like, here's your max recoil and recoil reduction that you get from my system. So with a standard 5.56. Again, I don't know what that means. I don't know what rifle he tested this on. I don't know what ammo he tested it with. He has these numbers calling recoil angle, recoil width, which I guess is your left to right, your muzzle rise, and then recovery time. And I guess is this with a mil spec, right? So we have average muzzle rise of 0.54 degrees. Recovery time of 0.86 seconds, recoil width of 0.42, recoil angle of minus 14 degrees. I don't know what that's about. And then allegedly with his system, you have a faster recovery time. Again, I don't know how he's tracking this down to the millisecond. 0.76 seconds, 0.06 degrees muzzle rise, 0.14 recoil width, and minus 9.69 recoil angle. So, I mean, his claims are pretty drastic in terms of recoil reduction. So, I mean, in terms of dot movement, I guess that's how he's measuring it. Is he measuring it off of like a laser attached to the rifle? And then you just, you look on camera and see where it starts, where it stops per shot, like the max rise, which is something that you actually can objectively test. You basically put a dot on a piece of paper, put a laser on there attached to your rifle, and then measure with a camera the highest point that it goes to, right? And you can do that and make it repeatable and test it that way if you want to. But he's claiming pretty ridiculous decrease in muzzle rise. 0.06 degrees is basically nothing. So, I mean, if it works, maybe I'm just a hater. Because if it actually takes recoil down to 0, like 0.06 degrees, like 0.06 degrees means that you can probably run a bill drill at 100 yards, sorry, and maintain on paper, right? Maybe
100 round.
Maybe. Well, I mean, listen, that's the thing. If there is actually no movement, it's just you. And again, gas system chart, what the heck does this mean? MBSC so there's two different systems. So there's the C is for carbines, then the MBCR for rifle, like recoil redefined. So I might have to see if I can find a video on this. And then, of course, now the big thing, too, is that a lot of these guys, they combo their buffers systems with a big F-off muzzle brake. And they're like, look how much we reduced recoil. And it's like, yeah, sure. But at the same time, you put on a big muzzle brake at the end, and that's what's actually doing most of the work here. Right? Says it works for 9 mil. Yeah, it's like, of course, you're putting on big, huge muzzle brakes at the end. We should not be surprised that recoil drops precipitously. I mean, I don't know. They're not insanely expensive. Oh, well, that is. Geez, that's crazy expensive. None. 300? Are they really $300?
Crazy.
Or did I? No, sorry. I clicked. Okay, here we go. 150. 150.
And that's the carbine, not the. How much is the rifle?
I don't know. I would. How do I tell the difference? This is the carbine, yeah, MBSC. So I'm sure they're probably roughly the same price, within a few bucks of each other. Not super interesting. $150. Yeah, that's more than I would pay for a buffer system.
Yeah.
I am kind of interested in the service life. Like, are we looking at years of service life? Are we looking at, maybe a season of actual? Because this would be for like competition shooters, right? That's the only real application I can think of, is for somebody that's looking to negate any and all recoil. So he's got a fancy buffer system. He's got a lightweight BCG. He's got a, adjustable gas block. He's got a big muzzle brake on the end, and he's just trying to turn that recoil down to 0.
Yeah, that is a little pricey, but for competition guys who are trying to shave that little bit of edge, yeah, I can see where they spend that little. Yep.
Edging competition guys. Noted, Richard. Noted. All right. Well, we've got to get to Patriot takes over on Blue Sky. This is the first time I've ever been on Blue Sky. Unfortunately, I can't follow Carl Casarda over here because I have to create an account, and I'm simply not going to do that. But we're going to talk about the hit piece that they are now running on Brandon Herrera, saying that he wore a Confederate flag in Texas. Cancel this man. Cancel this brown Nazi. Again, we've talked about this before, guys. He's not a Nazi. Not a Nazi. Amrite Boy for 2 says late and gayer than the PD that raided Afro's house. Yeah, I know. People are talking about on the Discord, Afro Man getting raided and him winning versus the cops. But I got to tell you guys, I don't care about Afro Man. Nah, not my thing. Good for him, or sorry that happened. Zandico for 2 says, Jonathan, it's time. Hit the button. Zandico, you don't tell me what to do. That's why you're not even on this show, bro. Wild, dude. trying to boss me around on my show, and then he asks, "Why am I not on, John? Why am I not on, John?" Gee, I wonder why, Zany. I wonder why. Chud for 2 says, "Hi, John. My heart goes out to you." Of course it does. Richard Mog Gassy. Thank you, Chud. Hope you're having a good night out there. Ronnie D. Zengaleski for 2 says, "Intro compilation, take my money." I hope you guys enjoyed that intro. That was fun. It was fun to make, fun to listen to, fun to hang out with you guys while we're all waiting for the show to start. Thank you, Ronnie.
Love hard.
Coppertone. What?
I said I love hard archives.
Coppertone for 2 says, "My 509T of 5 years finally died." Well, it has to happen. It has to happen at some point. 5 years for Chinesium with a planned obsolescence. Not terrible. Thank you, Coppertone. Hope you're having a good night. Gecko Chaser for 2 says, "Intro banger, here money." Yeah, that's usually the way it goes. You put something good together for the audience and they throw cash at you, okay? I'm like a guy, a homeless man sitting on the side of the road with a guitar, and people are throwing money at my pitiful self for entertaining them with memes. Revolver for 2 says, "Here for the banger memes." You are the banger meme, Revolver. Appreciate it. Zany for 2 says, "Can we talk about AK-102 and or Zenico stuff?" Zenica? No, we're never talking about that as long as I am in charge. You can go over to Clayco's channel and you can bug him about AK stuff. We don't do that here. Focus Stream Gooner 1488 for 2 says, "Hello to those in chat who can't stop winning." That's right. You're going to be tired of winning. You're going to say, "No, stop, please. I've done too much winning of late." Over on Ko-Fi, Coco says, "John, how many macacocks until you leave woke tardism?" Yes, I did see that very, very funny meme with Nick Fuentes dead on the desk. You know, just listening to his text-to-speech go off. I'm so glad I don't have text-to-speech, because otherwise Ko-Fi would just be bad. It would be horribly abused. It'd be funny, but I don't think we could allow it on YouTube. No. Actually, maybe that's something I should set up for Rumble exclusives, is text-to-speech, so that you guys can, torture me over there. Joshua, for 3, says, "Thoughts on the Black Irish St. Paddy's Day celebration?" Is that the blackface one? Based if true.
Can you use the voice changer for the text-to-speech?
No, I think Ko-Fi just has a generic one because it's done through Ko-Fi.
Oh, because the chat would want the mommy voice.
That's true. I would have to look into how to set it up, but I don't know if that would turn them on or turn them off, or maybe both at the same time. TED Talk, Polly, sorry, for 25 over on Ko-Fi.
I'm kind of retarded.
Thank you, Polly. Says, "TED Talk, SIGs XM7 and 8 is just Jewish welfare. We're all adults. What should happen? Small frame rifle, one of the many 6mm intermediates, or 30 epic. Don't give a fuck. Just pick one. The Magic, a new optic with on-the-fly 0 changes for different ammo. Put tungsten in anything and it destroys." Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I think 6mm is a pretty good sweet spot of enhanced ranged and lethality while managing weight, recoil, and ammo capacity, right? So I think you're definitely onto something there. But I don't think optics need to have multiple zeros built in unless it's like the Romeo 9T, right? Which does have that. Because the average grunt just needs a rifle that works and can hit targets that he points at. And not even all that, because usually it's going to be fire, call for fire, right? Can I get cast to remove that thing from the map? So I don't know how important small arms really are, as long as the soldier can carry a lot of ammo and hit targets within reasonable distances, with, relatively simple. Making the average soldier's rig more complicated, I don't know if that actually helps them in the field, Thank you, Paulie. Appreciate that, sir. Filter Lover, member for 5 months, says, "Hello, gents. The big Yahoo is gonna love this one. You're gonna love me." Thank you, Hilter. Vandalay for 2 says, "Not my XM8. Yes, hashtag not my XM8. How dare you stand where he stood." Chud for 2 says, "The M16A5 did not die for this. Hashtag grape Ron Cohen." Very nice. Maybe he's hungry. Maybe you need to grape him, as they say. Thank you, Chud. Appreciate that. Polly B for $20. Let's find something funny here.
We're going to have to come over to your house and kill you. No two ways about it.
This is a retarded take.
Thank you, Polly. Says, RE, bad aesthetics, whether it's guns, building cars, buildings or cars equals juice. Yeah, the modern aesthetics of the world are appalling, that's for sure. Chud for 2 says, piston guns are gay. If you like them, you are too. All right, start a fight. Piston guns are gay for $2. Appreciate that. Modern Frontier Project for 5 says, I bet Cryostructure could make a barrel for the government that would totally fix the XM7 and 8 issues. They definitely could, but they'll just never actually deliver the product. Unfortunate. Thank you, Modern Frontier Project. Hope you guys are having a good night out there. Chips Double for 5 says, hashtag not my XM8. Yes, many passionate, real XM8 lovers, not the fake Netflix version of the XM8. Randy Reviews for 5 says, thanks for the Geisley story. Working on a video about the future of AR-15s, and this fits into my narrative. Charlie Cox, thanks you for your service. Thank you, Charlie Cox out there, serving this great nation with 12 deployments, 12 and a half deployments to Applebee's and 1 overnight stay in Chicago. Thank you, Charlie Cox. Heathen from Texas for 5 says, Matthew, this is amazing. I'm late. What did I miss? Chat, have you been racking up your jades? And yes, we are jade posting. This is a certified jade stream here. You know the rules, Heathen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Chud for 2 says these buffers are still less gay than piston guns. But what if we put these buffers in a piston system? Come on, bro. That'd be perfect.
Jackal.
Thank you, Chud. Zanico for 2 says, do a bill drill on stream right now. Yes, I'm going to do a bill drill right now with my mind into Zanico for not being on stream. Thank you, Zanico. Appreciate it. Chips Double for 5 says, Eddie, current thoughts are formed from electricity. Still type magnets don't generate heat. Good to know. Thank you, Chips Double. Appreciate it. I'll take your word for it. Amorai Boy for 5 says, Afro Man is only interesting because it's a good example of First Amendment rights and how we as citizens can use that right against the government. Yeah, but you failed to consider that he's black. So the rules do not apply to him and to you the same way, Amorai Boy. So, I mean, that's why it's like a black man got off on something. Shocking. Thank you, Amorai Boy. Over on Rumble, Baseball Kid drops a subscription and for $20 says, do it.
This is a song of the summer shit. You know it's funny. Walk on stage with no shoes on. All I need is feet, boy, I'm too gone. Hey, Jake money, big toe money. This is a song of the summer shit. You know it's funny. Walk on stage with no shoes on. All I need is feet, boy, I'm too gone. My feet feel good. Your feet where they should. Y'all just sitting in the grass with a cigarette. Jake money, big toe money. That's a bigger check. Walking in, everybody.
Man, we need a 12-hour version of that. Somebody make a 10-hour remix right now, okay? That's how we'll start and end the stream. It's actually going to be a 24-hour stream, but before and after is always 2 10-hour blocks of that song. Jake always picks the perfect time to comment in stream. It just happens, you know. He's got the timing of a goldfish or something. However that saying goes. All right, but let's get back here. Let's talk about Brandon Herrera, young baby Brandon Herrera, talking about a little bit of a youth group that he's in, you know, a collection of fine gentlemen. Now, this is, of course, from Blue Sky. First time on this website. I apologize. All right. Unearthed video of Texas 23rd congressional winner, right? Because there's not worried about the general, okay? Wearing a Confederate flag and recruiting for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. How dare he have anything to do with his ancestry? This is who Trump endorsed to replace Tony Gonzalez. Based. Brandon Herrera called the Civil War the War of Northern Aggression. Based. Now listen to what Blue Sky retards do. And again, we're not 2 hours in, so we can't use our favorite little slur for them, but I appreciate that he's given us the time and dates where all these people meet. Show up with a white hood if you have one. Pete, abolish ICE. So, I mean, they're saying, like, oh, dude, I'm so glad that they're doxing themselves. We're not violent, though, but I'm so glad that they're telling us where they're going to meet. And again, this is like 12 years ago, 15 years ago, dude. Names Herrera supporting the white supremacist. Right. I'd stay away from Home Depot if I were him. See, they're just calling him, hey, yeah, you little illegal Mexican. You're gonna get arrested if you go to Home Depot. ICE gonna get you. ICE gonna get you, boy. So he's a racist piece of crap. Standard issue Republican, in other words. Arr, I hate racist Mexicans. I hate them so much I wish we could kill them. Arr.
Brandon Herrera, Nick Fuentes. When will it stop?
Yeah, I know. The anti-Mexican racism is terrible. Terrible. Anyways, let's listen to, in his own words, okay? Now, this is what political operatives do, and I actually don't have a problem with it, okay? So they had this video for a while, right? This video is floating around. I'm sure Brandon's aware of its existence, of course. But they wait until the opposition's primary is done so that they can drop whatever dirt on whichever opponent wins, right? So that they can, try and harm his chances and try and prop up your own guy's chances to win in the general, right? That's just how it goes. That's how election season works. It's how it's always going to be. So, of course, after Tony Gonzalez drops out, you let that news cycle drop down, and then you pump this out there into the ether to your blue sky audience to, I guess, try and get some support in some way, even though, dude, I don't know about anybody who cares. It's like, yeah, a dude from Texas running for a Republican seat in Congress wore a Confederate flag and called the Civil War the War of Northern Aggression. That's actually probably a large part of his constituents there, bruh. And yes, Mr. Herrera is very racist, but still, we're not allowing him into the Klan. Again, it had to come up at our last board meeting, and I was the deciding vote that said, no, he's too brown. He's too brown to be a white supremacist. I'm sorry, I know that numbers are down, but we still have to uphold our standards, okay, and keep our ranks pure, if you know what I'm saying. So no, we vetoed him from the White Nationalist Party.
Hi there, I'm Brandon Herrera with Fayetteville Arsenal Camp number 168, and welcome to the SCV.
I do like how young he looks, and I always forget that me and Brandon are the same age. For some reason, I always think he's older, but here he actually looks like, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and 15. That'd be my guess. Very young man. Very skinny man as well. He's, gained a little bit since then, but he's under a lot of pressure.
The SCV, or the Sons of Confederate Veterans, is a historical honor society dedicated to preserving Confederate heritage and learning more about our ancestors who fought and died in the War of Northern Aggression. The SCV is open to any male over the age of 12 years old who has an ancestor who fought in the Confederate Army. The Fayetteville Arsenal Camp meets the first Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock at the Cumberland County Wildlife Club. And what happens is, us guys, we get together and we eat supper. A meal is provided at every meeting, and it's usually good, Southern cooked food. And Danny is one of the guys who works behind.
See, now this is the thing that they actually do despise, is you, white man, having any sort of historical tie to your people, right? And it's such a wholesome thing. Like, you think this is like a meeting of racist evil people, and it's like, oh yeah, we hang out together and we have a meal and we talk about our history, we talk about our people, and we just kind of, whether it's called commiserating or you just have that camaraderie, like, this is what they hate. This is what they want to take from you. They see white people talking about white people, talking about your ancestry. They see this as highly problematic, and they want to strip you of that, right? They want to make sure you have no pride in your heritage at all, while simultaneously boosting up everybody else's pride in their ethnicity. But they want to make sure that you, white man, and it's just funny that Brandon's on screen right now, that you, white man, have no pride in your ancestry. They want to make you demoralized. They want to make you feel like everything is awful, everything is evil. There is truly nothing good about you or your people because something bad happened sometime in the past. Now, fortunately, me being German, of course, my ancestors never did anything wrong.
In the kitchen for us. And Danny, if you're out there listening to this, more fried chicken, please. I swear, our membership's going to go up 200%. Fried chicken. All right, now that that's out of the way, what usually happens in our meetings is we listen to a guest speaker, or maybe one of our members gives a presentation about a little known fact about the war or a battle or something like that. And once a year, we actually have what we call our annual Yankee shoot, where we go out back with black powder rifles and some that were actually in the war, some survivor Enfields. And we go out and we shoot up posters of our favorite Yankees, and it really is pretty cool.
Again, it's just celebrating a little bit of your own heritage, right? You have family members who fought, died in the war, you know, whatever your personal feelings on it. What is it too soon to talk about? You know, is it too soon to be like, hey, there's good people on both sides, the war, whatever your feelings are on the government's in charge at the time, you know, sorry, bro, get over it. You know, who cares, dude? But no, talking about your ancestry, talking about what your forefathers have done, based, you should do it. You should be concerned with your family's lineage, your heritage, your progeny. Those, not only those who came before you, but you, right now, everybody in the chat, should also be concerned with what you're leaving for the people who come after you, right? Because maybe someday you are going to be the guy that your great-grandson talks about in a positive manner, sitting around the fire with a bunch of other dudes, and he was like, yeah, no, my great-great-grandfather was actually so-and-so, and he did this, and it was really cool, and I'm glad to have him as part of my history, as part of my heritage, as part of my ancestry, right? So it's not only about recognizing what came behind us, but also looking forward, right? We got to create something that our progeny, right, our posterity has something to look up to.
Thing that the camp does is once a year we try to take a trip where we rent a van and we get as many camp members as can go together, and we go down to a famous battle site. Like in years past, we went to Chancellorsville and Manassas, and just last year we went to Chickamauga, and we get personal tours a lot of times from the Rangers, and we're very well received. And we eat dinner together, and we get a hotel and swap lies and just hang out with other members of the camp, and usually it's a lot of fun. Now, even with all
Yeah, no, what Brandon has done is truly impressive. And again, I don't agree with everything Brandon does. That's very normal. I'm sure that most people don't agree with what I do. But what he's accomplished at 30 years old, being, you know, multi-millionaire, multi-million sub-channel, very successful podcast, but also successfully worked his way into Congress from essentially being an online personality. Very, very impressive. And not taking APAC money to do it, right? While having this based stuff in his past, which is, again, the title of the stream is Based, if true, Based. It's like, yeah, I don't care, dude. Good. Good. Celebrate your heritage. Heck yeah. Oop, is it going to play Blue Sky?
all the cool stuff that the SCB does, like the annual Sam Davis Youth Camp or the Lee Jackson Ball, there is a more serious side to what we do here. Where I'm sitting today is what's left of the Fayetteville Arsenal. It was one of the biggest arsenals in the entire Confederacy during the war. It's a major historical site. And if you can hear some of the background noise in this video, is because several years ago, a bunch of politicians got together when no one was looking, and they approved a major highway to cut right through the middle, literally cutting this historical site in half. Totally disrespecting the heritage and the history behind this important site. And that is what the SCB does. We're here to protect sites like this and stop things like that from happening. Because those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Based, yeah, trying to protect your heritage. I mean, it is sad to see what's been done to a lot of Civil War monuments, Robert E. Lee statues, you know, truly great men of our past, truly great American heroes, American fighters, American warriors, whatever you want to call it, people who truly, you know, portrayed the American spirit, right? What it means to be an American. And yeah, people like this working to preserve it. Of course, this would be viewed as the left by evil because they view everything, you know, pre-1965 Hart-Celler Act, pre-Roe v. Wade. They view everything as before that as like the evil, dark, dystopian times where people were so primitive when we had nuclear families and we had low crime and we were homogenous. That was the evil time because everything for those people is inverted, right? Everything for those is, if it's not satanic and degenerate, then they're not happy. If it's wholesome, if it's traditional, if it's any of these things that are truly good, truly beautiful, any of those, that's what they're opposed to, right? That's the antithesis of their ideals. That's the antithesis of their worldview and their end goal.
History's all around us. After all, I'm standing on what used to be one of the
Good night,
largest
Poop.
arsenals in the entire Confederacy, and it's in your backyard. Fayetteville's full of history, so join us in celebrating it and to protect it. We meet the first Tuesday night of every month, 7 o'clock at the Cumberland County Wildlife Club. I hope to see you there.
But yeah, again, if true, based, like what a gay hit piece. Like, can we get something actually interesting here? No. Hidden video shows GOP candidate promoting Confederate group. Dog, let me check the watch real fast. That was 160 years ago. Do people still care? Right? It's like, if somebody has British ancestry that fought in like, if they're in the UK and they're like, oh yeah, one of my great ancestors fought in the Revolutionary War on the side of the British, and he did a good job. They ended up losing and they pulled him out. It's like, good for your dad doing his thing, doing what he was supposed to do. And then, what am I supposed to be like? Actually, you can't celebrate that part of your history, British man, because I view that as bad. It's all retarded and gay, okay? If anybody's allowed to celebrate their history, it's us, okay? And if we get to do it, then you can let Mexican Brandon Herrera do it as well. And again, you'd be very surprised at some of the interesting ethnics that have Confederate ancestry at some point. All right, let's see here. We have another gay little story about what they actually want for you, because of course this is a good thing to the left. This is a good thing to progressives, but this is once again Illinois being the worst state in the union, or at least one of the worst states in the union. Honestly, it's a title that everybody is vying for. Illinois Democrats offer bill that would end most ammo sales in the state. Dun dun dun. Where have we seen this one before? Because again, they oh shoot, do I have to go to a different? I am so annoyed that I have to go to a different art. I didn't realize I needed an account for this one. Why are you so gay? Why are you so gay, bearing arms? Fine, here we go. All right. A proposed Illinois measure aimed at handguns can be modified for automatic fire is drawing criticisms from gun right activists who say the legislation would do little to curb violent crime while restricting lawful gun owners. Supporters say the bill targets devices known as Glock switches. We know all of that. That can convert semi-automatic handgun into fully automatic firearms, but Guns Save Live Executive Director John Botch said that the proposal effectively singles out firearms made by Glock, one of the most widely owned handgun brands. Let me see if I can find... shoot, I want to make sure that I get the article that has the ammo restriction specifically. Gosh dang it. I am so annoyed that bearing arms... Does anybody have a bearings arm? Can anybody steal that for me? Gosh dang it.
Let me see.
I'm so annoyed. I am not... damn it. I want to read your article. I don't want to pay money to have the lowdown on it. Oh my gosh. Shoot. I mean, TLDR is that Illinois once again is trying to make it harder for civilians to purchase ammunition by adding more restrictions on it, of course, because if they can't go after the firearms directly, then go after the people selling it, right? FFLs. And even if they can't ban the firearms, if nobody can sell the firearms, then it effectively does the same thing. And the same with ammo. Okay, well, they can have the guns, but no ammo. So it's whatever they can do to limit the Second Amendment, to limit your right to defend yourself, is good for them. So, okay. Illinois Democrats offer a bill that would end most ammo sales through HB 4414, introduced by Rep. Ann Stava, repealed the 19th, which proposes requiring serial numbers on all handgun ammunition sold or possessed in the state starting January 1st, 2027. The bill defines handgun ammunition broadly, covering rounds used in pistols, revolvers, and firearms concealable on a person, even if also used in some rifles. So they want serial numbers on all rounds of ammunition sold within the state of Illinois. Serial number on every round. Every round starting January 1st, 2027. Serializing ammunition would drastically slow production, turning one-day manufacturing into nearly 4 weeks, according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation. This would likely force major manufacturers to exit the Illinois market due to hundreds of millions in required capital investment and obsolete existing infrastructure, leading to severe shortages and ammo prices rising from pennies to several dollars per round. Yeah, so having to individually serialize each round of ammunition. The bill also mandates a centralized registry, because we can't register the firearms, kind of, but let's register the ammunition, funded by a 5-cent tax on each round sold. So an additional tax on top of everything being serialized, and it's all going to be categorized in a state a database that surely will not be hacked or leaked. Possession of unserialized ammo after January 1st, 2027 would be a Class C misdemeanor, with each round counted as a separate offense. Oh my gosh. So imagine going to the range with like magazines loaded up with unregistered ammo. Is there dude, yeah, you can't buy a 22 long rifle anymore.
Nope.
Imagine paying 50 cents a round for 22 long rifle. This is in Illinois. Jakes. The bill also mandates, again, a centralized registry. While law enforcement and current FOID or concealed carry holders would have limited exemptions, private transfers aren't clearly addressed. As of now, HB 4414 has no co-sponsors, but it reflects broader efforts by Illinois Democrats to advance gun control through measures that could effectively ban sales without outright prohibition. Similar proposals, like the Rifle Act, aim to impose costly regulations on manufacturers, raising concerns about constitutionality and a disproportionate impact on low-income gun owners. And I do hate that a lot of our gun rights are unfortunately dictated by quote-unquote low income, because people are like, oh, well, it's racist. You can't impose this gun control because it's racist. When I'm like, I don't care about the racism aspect. Go away. It just shouldn't be done because it's incorrect, okay? It's gay that we have to appeal to essentially blacks to say that, we got to use blacks as our shield here to save us from, unconstitutionality. It's like, great.
Now,
Thanks.
What do you think this is going to do for reloaders? Do you think that they're going to have to buy serialized cases and then they're going to be policing their own brass to reload their serialized cases? Or is it just going to outline?
I don't even know. I think you would have to collect all your own brass, like have one of those built-in brass catchers to all of your systems. So, yeah. Absolute nightmare fuel. Not looking like I'm moving to Illinois anytime soon. Again, if that's going to pass. Is it actually going to pass? Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
And then it'll get struck down later.
All right. Now, let's get to a little bit of rage bait and some more world news, shall we? And now that we're kind of out of the woods when it comes to gun stuff. Now, this is just Israel when it sees an unclosed church. This is actually really bad news. I think this is the first time ever that the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem has been shut down, which of course is owned by the Orthodox Church. Israel has just forcibly closed the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and canceled Easter services due to war, while synagogues in Israel remain open. Churches in Iran also remain open, but they're closing down Christian churches, and the most important Christian churches in the world, simply to flex on Christians, I guess, that are in the area. Yes, for the first time in history, Israel closes the Tomb of Christ indefinitely. For the first time in history of Christianity, Holy Week and Easter services will be prohibited. Sunday services canceled. Church leaders call an emergency meeting, and this happened just yesterday. So once again, but now if you complain about it, or if you put a flyer up about this, that this is a bad thing and should not be done, you will get a 5-year prison sentence from Mr. Randy Fine. Thank you very much for that. Now, also,
I left that state.
Yeah. Well, now also moving on to talk about other things happening in Israel right now. We have riots going on in the streets. We have more footage of Orthodox non-Orthodox or atheist or secular Jews, whatever you want to call them. But we have tensions rising within Israel itself, which at least that's nice to see. Okay, it's good to see that everybody's having their issues. Is that Chest Rigger? Is that Oprod Kids? It looks like Oprod Kids. Okay, where was he yesterday? That's what I need to know.
I can't account for his whereabouts yesterday, but Monday I can. Sorry, bud. Ooh. Spicy. Wait,
dude, what are you doing dragging that like 5-year-old kid in that stroller? That is a large kid.
Is that an actual child though, or is the child?
Is that a doll? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the text. Yeah, I don't. This guy is saying good Jews. That's his word for Torah Jews. Now, I will say that there is a sect of Orthodox Jews who do not support the state of Israel, right? However, that does not mean that they align with our values. That is simply not the case. That is not real. Okay, Israel, but just because they don't support Israel does not mean that they're our friends.
Wow, that's interesting.
We got some more footage. I don't really care about that. Thanks, though, bro. We got some more footage of the Israeli riots coming out, which just the image of an IDF war criminal baddie chasing down like stereotypical Orthodox man. There's something funny about it, right? Ironically funny, at least. I like how it's all women too. Like the entire police force is just women there, and they are Orthodox Jews, stereotypically horribly unathletic. Horribly unathletic. That same guy keeps falling over. You should just have this on in the background continuously. People struggling to get away from him. All right. Well, moving across the pond to a little bit of maybe some good news coming from the UK, coming from my neck of the woods, at least the part of the UK that I like, that being Scotland. In case you didn't hear, Scotland has voted no to assisted suicide. Now, assisted suicide is it's killing white people. That's really just what it's used for. It's like 96% of the time it's used for just killing old white people who have been either propagandized into believing that their life shouldn't continue, or they've been like directed by a therapist, right? In Canada, that happened not too long ago. I think it was Canada, where they had a young man, 26 years old. He had a couple little illnesses, but he was propagandized by his therapist into ending his own life. But at least we get a little bit of good news here and there. Scottish assisted suicide bill defeated in major victory for the most vulnerable in our society. True. There's a great victory for the most vulnerable in our society. They deserve protection and care, not a pathway to suicide. If this legislation is passed, countless vulnerable people would have been pressured or coerced into ending their lives. And this I hate. And this, we see this in the West all too often, is that our own people, our own children, our own elderly are like, oh, you white person, you can't have children. That would be a drain on the system. You should have less babies, while you're importing people who have 4, 5, 6 times the birth rate, right? You know, old people, it's like, oh, well, listen, old man, you're a drain on the system, and it's time for you to make way for the new generation. So you're in pain, you're old, you're tired, your kids don't visit you anymore. I mean, it really is time just to check out, old man. You know, it's time for you to be done away with, to make room for the new generation. And by new generation, not your own people, not your own posterity, not your own progeny, but waves of browns. That is who you need to make way for. So it puts pressure on us to, quite literally, our women are incentivized to kill their own children or miscegenate. And then our oldest, and then we as people are incentivized to just not have children in the first place. And then also to have our oldest and most vulnerable check out a little early because they're in a little bit of pain. They don't have all the money because of all the taxes and all the other things. And the old folks' homes are stealing all of their money and they're a complete racket and a scam. But you know what, bro? You know what, Jim? You can just check out right now and you can say goodbye to this mortal coil. Yes, I'd much rather have bed sores than bleed from my anus and eat blended pee for a year. Here's the thing, though. Life is suffering. Life is struggle. And that's good. That's kind of the point, you know? And if you have lived in such a degenerate fashion where you have no loved ones at the end of your life, you have no one to take care of you because you pushed them all away, then perhaps that is a prison of your own making, and I think that is the thing. Yeah, times are bad, okay? People have bad lives. You see people get blown up, they lose multiple appendages, they get their faces melted off, and they have a terrible time. You're like, oh, I pity that person. I pity that person for the struggle that they're going through, for the suffering they have to go through. And then you ask them, and they're like, nah, bro, I'm alive. I'm having a good time. I'm doing my thing. There are people who have it so infinitely worse than you or I will ever do, and they are still somehow grateful for their own meager existence, right? And there's something powerful about that. So again, it's like, oh yeah, well, I can't wait to kill myself when I get older. It's such a boomer-coded Gen X thing that as soon as life gets a little tough, as soon as we're a little uncomfortable, it's time just to go. And now I'm not denying that people have a miserable experience later on in life, but here's the thing. If I have a wife and kids, grandkids at any point in time, and you think I'm checking out early, now I'm killing everybody else before I kill myself, okay? That's how that's going down, all right? Some old lady trying to pressure me into killing myself. I'm going to go down swinging. That sounds like a lot more fun, personally. Yeah, terrible news for everybody else. I woke up. I was found alive this morning. Yeah. Speaking of terrible people who were found alive this morning, this is a wild story, okay? Because I had to do some fact checking. I had to do some digging into this to see what was really going on. So in Britain, this pedophile was sentenced to 3 years for raping chickens while his wife filmed it. His sentence was later reduced to 2 years, 4 months on appeal. Not even chickens are safe anymore. Should he have gotten a longer sentence? Now, I looked into this. I'm like, no way. No, like, surely they're not. Over here, it's like they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, right? Of course. But in Britain, they're raping the chickens? They're raping the chickens? So I looked into it. I was like, fact check. Indian origin man Nikhil Gupta was sentenced to 3 years in prison in the United Kingdom for sexually assaulting a chicken? ? Well, that's not true, but wait till you find out what is true. An image being circulated by anti-India propagandists and extremist accounts falsely claiming that an Indian origin man named Nikhil Gupta, funny name, was sentenced to 3 years in the United Kingdom for sexually assaulting a chicken. These claims are completely false and fabricated. The image actually depicts a man named Rehan Beg. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison for 2020 for sexually abusing chickens. So they got the name wrong, but the story is actually true. The story is actually true. You could just, you have the original article here. What the cluck? Sick dad who had sex with family's pet chickens as wife filmed, jailed for 3 years. Vile Rehan Beg, 37, abused the defenseless birds and romped with his twisted missus, Halama, 38, at the same time. Have you ever had a threesome with a chicken? Richard, you were a Florida man. Have you ever had a threesome with a chicken?
Chicken sandwich.
You added the mayonnaise yourself, right? Your own special ingredient there. Yeah, so the Mama 4 even filmed it on a mobile phone and a GoPro so they could watch it back, the court was told. Rehan Beg then stored the footage away on his home computer in a folder entitled Family vids. ... Prosecutor Abigail Langford said officers from the National Crime Agency raided the couple's home in July 2019 after a tip-off. Miss Langford said the premises were searched, a large number of exhibits were seized, including 2 computer towers and a mobile telephone. Those devices were interrogated, and a number of indecent images of children were found. Oh. Oh. So not just the chicken raping, not just the threesomes with the chicken, but also CSAM. The pair also abused a dog. During the course of these incidents, she was a willing participant. In one video, Baig even had sex with a dead animal before stuffing into a black bin liner. Huh. 3 years? No. Yeah, how about chicken feed? How about we turn you into chicken feed? Although, no, we can't do that because then people would eat it, and we can't have that sort of bioweapon floating around.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
Nah, just acid. Death by acid. We're gonna dip you into acid, like one of those like really slow, like an inch an hour or something like that. We're just gonna dip you into acid. I think that is justified. Damn. Yeah, that story did not get better. Thanks for the fact check on that, but that story did not get better.
Well,
this is completely false. It's actually this other guy who did the exact same thing.
Did you see the other one that was basically the same thing? I linked it in the side chat there. Very similar story coming out of my Florida. I think it was Miami.
Well, here's the thing. If you follow the furry pipeline or follow people who have investigated these types of people, it always ends up like in the most degenerate sex and torture of animals. Like that. It's just bestiality and torture porn. That's all it is. That's all furries are.
This guy was arrested by ICE.
Of course he was. Of course he was. Well, maybe we'll save that one for later. I only have so much stomach for disgusting humans raping and killing animals. It's my tolerance for that is not super high. Now, speaking of other sorts of animals, though, former Representative Jasmine Crockett confirms a member of her security team was killed by Dallas police. Crockett, a Democrat of Texas, said the man, Diamond Robinson, had gone by a different name during his employment. Police said he had multiple felony warrants and a parole violation warrant, and he was working as her security team, which is quite funny. Interesting story.
Hey, stop the car! Stop the car! Move your car! Move your car! Stop! Stop!
Dallas police released portions of dash cam footage and several angles of officers' body-worn cameras.
I hope Jordan is trolling, but he's also a pagan. So it might actually just be par for the course for him.
Cameras leading up to the shooting of 39-year-old Diamond Robinson.
Looks like he's going through Maine. He's going through a red light. Do we have any coverts with him?
In the video, officers are seen following Robinson through downtown Dallas for a car they said was flagged for stolen plates. The footage then cuts to the Children's Medical Center garage, where Robinson is seen sitting inside a vehicle as officers yell commands to get out with his hands up.
During that time, officers offered him opportunities to speak with family members to resolve the situation peacefully, which is a common practice during negotiations.
Get out! Keep your hands up! Stand up! While exiting the car, Robinson is seen reaching for his waist, then pointing a firearm before the
$50 to ban Jordan Jareb? I don't know, man. That's crazy. That's a crazy thought.
video freezes and shots are heard.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
What is going on inside the car? Did I miss that? Did they say what was happening to the car?
Family members to resolve the situation peacefully, which is a common practice during negotiations.
Get out! Keep your hands up! Stand up! While exiting the car, Robinson is seen reaching for his waist, then pointing a firearm before the video freezes and shots are heard.
Reach! Don't do it! Don't do it!
Is that the Fentmobile? It's very grainy, but it does indeed look like firearm, and the police officers hopefully could see a lot better than we can. And if not firearm, why firearm shaped? Death by police officer.
At the time of the shooting, Robinson had 2 active theft warrants. Additionally, detectives were in the process of investigating what appeared to be an alleged double life.
He's very good at hiding his true identity. And through great police work from the intelligence unit and the Irving Police Department, we were...
I mean, like, it is just suicide, right? Because there is no world in which you have 4 people with, like, this isn't a John Wick movie, right? Maybe they think it is, but you have 4 people with rifles pointed directly at you. And do you think you're going to quick draw them with a revolver? Is that real? Is that the plan? Like, that's, I mean, there is no long-term thinking with some of these dudes, you know, they're very high time preference. But is it just suicide maxing?
I think.
Is it just death maxing at? Like,
well,
yeah,
if he lives, then he can at least start a GoFundMe, right?
Like, oh, bro. I would not, like, if I had to gun to head, it's like, all right, you're gonna go up against pistols or rifles, and if you win or if you just survive, just don't die, you might get a GoFundMe after it. If there's a rifle involved, like, no thanks. My odds of surviving just went down by like 90%, and they were already low to begin with.
Through technology, able to determine who his real identity was.
Detectives learned Robinson had been using fictitious information and wearing police-style uniforms to represent himself as a federal agent. They also say he'd been using the alias Mike King and created fake businesses to
Mike
hire
King
actual
or
sworn
Mike
police
King?
officers for off-duty jobs
Mike
through a resource called Roleplay.
There's also his IDs that he had. The ID cards were also found inside the vehicle as well, along with some badges. We executed a search warrant on Mr. Robinson's apartment that afternoon and recovered additional badges and additional firearms.
Sources told NBC5 Robinson worked as a security guard for Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. That was later
Former, right? She got voted out, which I'm very happy about. But what a dumb bint. What a dumb bint.
confirmed by Crockett herself in a lengthy statement that reads in part, Mike had been in and around our team for years. There was never any reason to suspect that he wasn't who he
Taxpayer funded lashes, all right? Taxpayer funded weave, all right?
held himself out to be. What we are learning about his past doesn't fit the person we came to know as Mike King. According to finance documents with the Federal Elections Commission, there was a small payment of $340 to security services to a Mike King last year. As for the company role,
That's it?
Wow.
$340? Is that our security guards are not eating good if that's what you're getting paid, dude? I should AI her Jasmine's face onto Candace though.
It feels a little fake. You don't get to hide those. You don't get to ask those questions. What's wrong with you, Mom? Why are you so scared?
Yeah, man, that clip does it.
call, a service police suspect Robinson used to hire off-duty officers, we're told the company is actively working to see if there was a void in its system. Roll Call released a statement as well that reads in part, the individual in question is not and has never been a Roll Call employee. Roll Call actively cooperated with the Dallas Police Department's investigation into the individual in question, and we will continue to work closely with them.
Breaking update from Ballistic Aviation, also known as Luke from TFBTV, says, boys, Trench is being bred by Garand Crumb. I got jump scared by the first 5 seconds of their video they put out today. So because you brought that up, I will now show the audience. Because it was a little funny. It was a little funny with them doing their goofy little thing. You know, goofy. Let's see. Was it trench grenades? It's definitely trench grenade. I am excited to see their collaboration video on Garantham's channel, though. Right? Our Garanth. Is that still happening? Is that on Sunday? Is that coming up?
I think that's coming out on Sunday.
So now here is Trenches. We're definitely not going to watch this or listen to this, but here is just the intro for PCC philosophy for SHTF in 2026.
If you've ever had a friendly fire incident at Tarkov that ruined a lifelong friendship because they were using green tracer.
right there. But let me...
Dude, that look. What the Norwood reversal? Was it worth it? Was it worth it, Mr. Thumb? All right, you fixed your Norwood issue, but now you get to deal with Trench and Sig. GT and TG hair plug comparison review. Yeah, that face, dude. How to evade the closet. how to survive the gay thoughts in the closet through a Long Island magician. It's a combat shirt. It looks fine. It looks fine, okay? No homo. He looks fine, dude. You don't got a dog on him for his shoulders, okay? Jeez, for his traps, man. Like, jeez. Who's pointing him out? Me? Not me. Wouldn't be me. Yeah, but no, we're definitely not going to watch any more of that. No. No, thank you. Okay, well, there's not enough information on that one. How about this? Okay, I'm ready for a ride to end the stream, okay? A roller coaster of emotions, if you will. But before we do, let me get to a couple of these real fast. Bushmaster for 5 says, we could always just bring back the Knights Armament PDW using the 6x39 round if they want something that is light, small, and still pokes holes in people at a distance. Everyone forgot they existed. Yeah, I mean, 6mm by 39 is essentially 6 arc, right? It's a neck down 6.5 Grendel, which is a neck down 7.62 by 39, which is a 220 Russian base cartridge, right? But yeah, 6 mil. 6 mil's cool. McLeod for 5 says Razor Fist did a great documentary on how Lincoln is the U.S.'s first dictator. Yes, I forget the name of that. I think it's maybe America's First Tyrant or something like that, but it is a good video by Razor Fist. Also, Democrats haven't changed much since their slaves got taken away. Also, Brandon is from North Carolina, not Texas. No, I know he's not originally from there, but it's like Texas is they have some of that culture, some of that history there, and it makes even more sense, of course, in North Carolina. Mr. Noom for 10 says, this is so based. Brandon is an effing legend. Thank you, Mr. Noom for 10. Appreciate you, sir. Yeah, I know. The Brandon stuff, it is not the L that the left thinks it is. Or that retards on Blue Sky think it is anyways. Chud for 2 says, the American Indian War is the coolest American war. All right. Okay, cool. Cool. Got some opinions on American wars. Tuss the Third for 5 says, not a Brandon fan, but nothing wrong with SCV. They've done a lot to preserve CW history. Yeah, again, like I wouldn't consider myself necessarily a fan of Brandon Herrera, but working with some community to hang out and talk about your heritage and to stop the erasure of, history. Based. Thank you, Tusk. Hope you're doing well. Nice new profile pic, by the way. Bojangles for 5 says, so glad I moved when I did. Holy shit. Because you're not voting your way out of this. No, well, you've been, like in Illinois, you've been demographically replaced. You can't vote your way out of it. Your chances are gone, right? There is, even in an ideal world where democracy really works, which it doesn't, democracy is gay. You've been replaced, so there is no voting base left for you to even get your rights back. Heather from Texas for 2 says, how did he lose when he had the big iron? Yeah, big iron don't do nothing against, police issued M&P 15s, okay? Those M&P 15s, they be packing some heat, dog. Thank you, Heathen. Mass Mark for 2 says, Trench always looks like the prunes aren't working. He got that face. He got that face sometimes. Thank you, Mass Mark. Chud for 5 says, when you hear 6 arc guys say something so Grendel-phobic, you have to hit him with that 123 grain stare. True, dude, true. 6.5 Grendel has got a little bit of an inferiority complex, and so do the shooters. Just that every time 6 mil gets brought up, they have to interject like immediately. But 6.5 Grendel was already here, and it already does the things. And it's like, yeah, I know, Grandpa. It's okay. It's all right, Grandpa. We'll just take you back to bed, go back to your old folks' home. It's fine. But no, thank you, Chud. 6.5 Grendel is a cool round, okay? It's fine. But we're beyond that now. We've evolved. All right. A rocky marriage, secret affair, and millions in debt. What we've learned so far in Corey Richens' murder trial. Over the last 2 weeks, jurors in Corey Richens' murder trial have heard a wide-ranging testimony about troubles in her marriage, her secret affair, and the millions of dollars she owed in debt. All factors prosecutors say led her to fatally poison her husband with a fent sandwich, right?
Yep.
Fentanyl sandwich. You know, George Droid could only dream of going out when your wife makes you a fent sandwich. No. He did not get the dignity of going out via fratricide. Or not fratricide. Was it patricide? I don't know. Prosecutors say the Utah mother of 3 killed her husband, Eric Richens, with a lethal dose of fentanyl in March 2022. She is also accused of attempting to kill him by lacing his sandwich on Valentine's Day, weeks before his death. She was determined, okay? She's going to get it done one way or the other.
I just want to point that out. Valentine's Day, she made him a sandwich and tried to poison it with fentanyl. Well, she did poison it with fentanyl, but she tried to murder him on Valentine's Day.
You know, maybe your marriage isn't going so good, but it's Valentine's Day. Your wife brings you a sandwich. It's like, oh, great, dude, this is so nice. And then it's like, oopsie daisy. I'm poisoning you because I'm no longer happy with this situation. And then you're like, wow, that sandwich made me feel really good. Matricide. That sounds like a mattress. That sandwich made me feel really good. But now I'm sick and I overdose. And it's like, all right. And then she just tries it again with like double the dose, like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Nearly 40 witnesses have testified so far, including the woman who allegedly gave Richens the drugs, friends who say they heard about the couple's marital problems, and the man with whom she was having an affair. You're cheating on your husband, you're cucking your husband, and then you kill him as well? What a bitch. What a bitch. Damn. These hoes ain't loyal, okay? Not only are these hoes not loyal, but they dangerous too, dude. Well, check your sandwiches, dogs. The evidence will prove that Corey Richens murdered Eric for his money and to get a fresh start in life. Dude, every time there's one of these dating podcasts, and it comes out and it's like men shouldn't get married, men should avoid women at all costs, men are like women are just pieces of meat that will take advantage of you. Every day there's a story that comes out and I'm like, they got something. There's something there. They're not entirely wrong, okay? You may be misguided, but you kind of get it, all right? The evidence will prove, Eric killed him for his money and to get a fresh start at life. I'll take your money and kill you. Not even just divorce and take half, but I need you dead so that I just have to be me. And I need your money and you dead. Otherwise, I can't be me. I mean, women will say something like, wow, men are so evil as they're turning around and getting abortions, right? They'll cry for a monkey that's getting beat up and has a pillow, but they'll turn around and abort their own child. So yeah, I'm not interested in discussing quote unquote women's rights. I'm here to discuss women's wrongs, okay? More than anything, she wanted his money to perpetuate her facade of a privileged affluence and success. Corey Richens has pleaded not guilty to aggravated murder and other charges, with her defense arguing she has been wrongfully blamed for Eric Richens' death and that prosecutors are unable to prove how the fentanyl entered Richens' body. Listen, we don't know how the fentanyl got there, okay? All we know is that it is there. And you're blaming me, but I don't know. I don't know, dude. Sometimes it just happens. If convicted of the most serious charge, she could face up to life in prison. They're going to spend weeks in this trial trying to convince you that Corey had reasons to kill her husband because they can't show you that she did kill her husband, defense attorney Kathy Nestor said in her opening statement. With prosecutors expected to conclude their case in the coming days, here are 5 key revelations from their witnesses so far. Robert Josh Grossman, funny name, the man with whom Corey Richens had a years-long affair, wiped his eyes and put his head down as their affectionate text messages were displayed in court. Listen, Mr. Grossman, I hope you feel a lot of shame, okay? And there's going to be, literally and metaphorically, hell to pay come Judgment Day. I do want a future together. I do want you. Figure life out together. Corey Richens texted Grossman roughly 2 weeks before her husband died. If he could just go away and you could just be here, life would be so perfect. I love you. Grossman worked on houses Corey Richens bought for her real estate business, he said, and their relationship became romantic around 2020. She let him live in a home she was flipping, bought him 2 trucks, and gave him money whenever he needed it. Grossman said he loved her, he testified, and believed she loved him too.
So she was funding his lifestyle and taking
via her husband's money?
Yep.
Yeah. Again, no more women's rights, women's wrongs, okay? That's what we're currently discussing here. The jury saw dozens of texts where the two expressed their love and dreamed about being together in the future, though both acknowledged the idea was more fantasy than reality. I don't even understand that. Because if you're married and you have a real estate business and you're flipping houses, like you have to, damn it, you have to have enough money. You have to have enough money to just live a normal life, right? Surely. I mean, you're buying the guy trucks and houses. Gosh dang it. You guys are on it. You guys are on it tonight. Flipping that bointer. Try the sandwich, dear. It's to die for. Grossman and Richens planned to get brunch together on March 4th, 2022 to celebrate her closing on a valuable property, he testified. The night before, he sent her a GIF, or a GIF, depending on how retarded you are, a type of animated image of 2 people kissing with the caption, "Love you," according to the messages shown in court. Hours later, Eric Richens was dead. The two stayed together for several months after Eric Richens' death. Grossman said about a month after her husband died, Corey Richens texted Grossman, "I think I want you to be my husband one day." Man, isn't that like, that's horror movie level, right? That's like some feminist retard author writing a book about something like this. This is women's power fantasy here. Not only do you murder your husband, you take all his money, and then the next guy you got lined up, you're like, "I want you to be my husband next." No, thank you. No. And I wonder if he figured it out. If he was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" Oh no. Oh no. But their relationship soon ended. Grossman said, "Things changed after Eric passed. You don't say, they say murder changes people." Now, again, this is all allegations. If true, it'll be decided in a court of law over the next couple days, I think. Or it might have already been decided. I haven't paid attention.
I think she did get convicted.
Oh, she did get convicted. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, murder does tend to change people. Under questioning by defense attorney Wendy Lewis, Grossman said that after Richens' arrest in May of 2023, he spoke with a private investigator hired by Eric Richens' family. The PI, Grossman said, told him Richens had killed her husband. So again, the man who died, his family hired a private investigator to investigate the wife because the husband was probably suspicious of the wife before his passing. "I was blown away," Grossman said, and then I'm like, looking at everything in our past with a different set of goggles on through different lenses, and I was trying to figure out if she did it. Yeah, bro. Again, it's many proverbs about a woman with pretty eyes, but her feet lead down to hell. He told the investigator about a sprawling conversation he had with Corey Richens about 2 weeks after Eric Richens' death, in which they discussed dying, God, bow hunting, and supernatural stuff. During that conversation, Grossman said Corey Richens asked if he had killed anybody while serving in Iraq and how it made him feel. Today, sitting here, when you think back on that conversation, does that conversation seem like it was a strange conversation to you? Lewis asked. "I can't tell one way from the other anymore," Grossman responded. "I've been confused for years." Can we play this real fast? Will this play for us?
She asked if I had ever killed anybody.
Was that specific to killed anybody while serving in Iraq?
Right.
Sir, what was that follow-up question?
She asked me how it made me feel or something along those lines.
This is Robert Grossman testifying during Corey Richens' murder trial about a conversation he says he had with Richens 2 weeks after her husband's death. Prosecutors have accused Richens of fatally poisoning her husband, Eric Richens, with fentanyl in 2022. Grossman testified that he got romantically involved with Richens in 2020. The jury saw private texts between Richens and Grossman about their on and off relationship, and at one point, Grossman got visibly emotional. In February 2022, less than a month before her husband's death, according to text messages, Richens asked Grossman, "If I was divorced right now and asked you to marry me tomorrow, you would?" Grossman responded, "Yes, in love with you. Of course I would."
You know, things changed after Eric passed. I mean, I don't know what to say. Things weren't the same.
Grossman said they remained romantically involved for another 6 to 10 months after Eric's death, but then had a, quote, falling out. During cross-examination, the defense showed a text message from Richens to Grossman before the husband's death, where she said the idea of the couple living together was, quote, not possible, but it's fun to dream. Grossman testified that Richens ended their relationship. Richens has pleaded not guilty to the charges of aggravated murder, attempted
Damn. You know, in a way, I feel like a little bad for him because obviously he was led on by this woman, a poor, sensitive young man taken advantage by this evil whore. But at the same time, he was messing with a married woman. So I'm like, sorry, bro. Really bad decision making there.
Chat was wanting an early life check. Somebody asked
on Grossman or on Richie's. I mean, yes to both.
Name.
Yes to both. Yeah, I'm not sure. Several witnesses testified there were difficulties in the Richens relationship, with two of Corey Richens' friends saying she told them she felt trapped in her marriage. She felt like she was frustrated in the relationship, but also it would be difficult to leave. Eric would end up financially secure, and her the opposite, said Allison Wright, the wife of Eric Richens' business partner. She feared what would happen in divorce. Another friend testified Corey Richens told her in December of 2021 she couldn't see an easy way forward out of the marriage. I guess because she'd lose too much money in the process or something, but geez. Murdering a man for a little bit of wealth? All right. I mean, yeah. Story as old as time, right? She said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead. Poor choice of words. During cross-examination, this is not going to look good on your deposition, by the way. During cross-examination, defense attorneys tried to undercut Lloyd's testimony, playing recordings in which she expressed uncertainty about what was said in the conversation, but Lloyd stood by her testimony on stand. "I don't want to be here saying it," she said, "but I know that that is what was said." The jury also heard two recordings of phone calls between Corey Richens and her best friend Eric Richens, and her best friend and Eric Richens' best friend. Sorry. "We were in a rocky spot 2 years ago," Corey Richens said of her marriage during one of those calls, which occurred about 2 weeks after her husband's death. Eric Richens' friends then referenced Corey Richens kicking her husband out of the house for a couple weeks after she learned that he had been seeing another woman. Okay, so this is cheaters on murderers. Like, this is just the rogues gallery, okay? This is just the rogues gallery of bad people doing bad things, right? Two divorce attorneys testified they met with Eric and Corey Richens individually in 2020 and 2021, respectively, although neither filed for divorce. Corey Richens' finances were collapsing. Okay, so maybe this is woman's side business collapsing and not actually doing well. Color me shocked. While Richens' friends said she appeared to be financially successful, a forensic accountant testified her business flipping homes was, quote unquote, imploding. As of the date that Eric Richens died, Corey Richens was in financial distress as her financial enterprise was collapsing, had been collapsing, and but for a significant infusion of cash and capital would have continued to collapse, said Brooke Carrington, who analyzed financial records in the case. So she needed to kill her husband. She couldn't afford a divorce because her husband's money was probably keeping her alive. Corey Richens' debt... Well, that's true too, yes. He was funding the both of them. Corey Richens' debt problems began after she took out a $250,000 home equity line of credit against their family home in 2019. Around the same time, she registered her real estate business. Carrington said the loan was taken out in her husband's name and signed by Corey Richens as his attorney. In fact, according to records displayed in court, dudes, do not let your wives run a negative business enterprise. It never works out well. I know lots of moms, they get bored and they want to do something and they want to make money. It almost never works out well. So it's sometimes you just need to say no. You just need to say no, dude. The loan was taken out of her husband's name yet. By the time Eric Richens died, Corey Richens had taken out multiple loans and owed thousands in debt payments every week. So her bank account was perpetually in the hole. Carrington said her net worth was negative $1.6 million the day after her husband's death, according to Carrington's analysis. In financial records Richens submitted as part of 4 loan applications, she reported Her bank accounts contained significantly more money than they had. So lying, fraud should be another charge in there. Eric Richens' life insurance was for approximately $2.2 million through several policies. Okay, all right, so life insurance is another angle here. According to Carrington, prosecutors allege Corey Richens forged an application for one of his life insurance policies that went into effect on February 4th, 2022, 10 days before they say she first tried to poison her husband. Yeah, so this, oh, that's such a terrible idea. Women, all right, if you're going to try, or men too, if you're going to try and kill somebody for life insurance, you got to like spread these things out a little bit, okay? It can't be suspicious. 10 days? Forging signatures 10 days before you try and kill them? Not going to look good in court, dude. Damn. Richens received about $1.3 million in life insurance payments in the months after her husband's passing. Carrington said by September 2022, most of the money had been spent, much of it toward paying down her debt. If, in fact, Miss Richens was in financial distress, you're not here to say she killed her husband, are you? Nestor asked the forensic accountant during a testy cross-examination. That's for the jury to decide, Carrington said. I'm not making my conclusion about that at all. Two witnesses described alleged drug deals prior to Eric Richens' death. Carmen Lauber, a house cleaner who worked for Corey Richens, testified she sold pills to the Utah mother 4 times in early 22 at the defendant's request. She'd called me and asked if I could reach out to somebody for some pain meds for an investor that she knew. She bought illicit opiate pills. I don't know why I can't say that. Opiate. I can't say it. But anyways, for Richens, who later asked for something stronger, the house cleaner testified. Lauber got in touch with Robert Crozier, who said he had pills containing fentanyl. Lauber said when she texted Richens about the fentanyl pills, Richens responded, okay, go ahead and get them, according to Lauber's testimony. Sorry, Richard, you were feedbacking a little bit, so I dropped you to the back. Lauber testified she brought pills from Crozier at a gas station in Draper, Utah, twice before Eric Richens' death, and a third time shortly after. Chris Kotrodimos, a digital forensic analyst, showed the jury location data from Lauber and Crozier's phone. The devices were both near the Draper gas stations on February 11th, February 26th, and March 9th, 2022. When Eric Richens was found dead on March 4th, 2022, he had roughly 5 times a lethal dose of fentanyl in his system, according to charging documents. On the stand, Crozier confirmed that he gave Lauber pills at the gas station, but insisted he did not sell fentanyl at the time. In early 2022, Crozier was selling pharmaceutical oxycodone pills he received from people with prescriptions, he said, and didn't start selling fentanyl until late that year. Crozier had previously confirmed he sold Lauber fentanyl in a jailhouse interview with law enforcement during the investigation into Eric's death. In footage of the interview shown in court, Crozier struggled to remember details about his interactions with Lauber and which drugs she asked for, but he said she knew what she was buying. So she knew that there was fentanyl in those pills, an investigator asked. Absolutely, Crozier said. On the stand, Crozier said he didn't remember that conversation. I was on a lot of drugs at the time, so I was detoxing from those drugs, he testified. Man, that's rough. Though he was called as a witness for the prosecution, Crozier's testimony is key to Corey Richens' defense. In her opening statement, Nestor argued if Crozier only sold oxycodone, and as he now claims, his pills could not have killed Eric Richens. What a wild, hilarious story. What? Corey Richens' phone records show searches about how fentanyl and life insurance payments. Again, lots and lots and lots and lots of circumstantial evidence just piling up. All of the stupid things that you could have done, you did do. Nice. Congratulations. Now let me see real fast. Oh, also funny little add-on here is that she also wrote a children's book to help her sons grieve the death of their father. Now she'll stand trial for his murder. Oh, that's really dark. Again, and women are not these like perfectly, docile animals that never do anything wrong. Let's see. I'm trying to see verdict because I don't see the verdict popping up. Okay, so yes, according to KUTV, Utah mother Corey Richens found guilty of murdering her husband Eric Richens. Damn, and writing a book about it too. Was that wrong? It's just a little oopsie, okay? You don't get it. It's just It's just a little oopsie sometimes. Everybody has those little oopsies now and then. But yeah, I think that's a good enough place to leave it for tonight. Let's get to these real fast. Judge Holden, great name, member for 4 months, says 6'5" Grendel is the mini-me of 6'5" Creedmoor, in my opinion. Yeah, essentially. It's like 6'5" short. How about that? You're still feedbacking, Richard. Sam Toaster becomes a new YouTube member. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Chud McGill for 2 says, women are so hot, I wish they weren't evil people. Very true. Very true. Truer words have never been spoken. Thank you, Chud. Tusk the Third for 2 says, I don't even let my lady order DoorDash. Probably wise to do that. Thank you, Tusk. She Parted for 5 says, expand the basement, John. We got a lot of ladies that need housing. Listen, I've got 2 downstairs, and I keep them chained so that they do not attempt to feed me fentanyl pills. Not gonna happen. Jim Eagle UC for 5. Hope you're having a good night, Jim. Says, oh shit, if y'all don't hear from me this summer, my wife did me in. I've got a big settlement coming in from the DOD over my COVID vax separation. Well, that is awesome, Jim. That is very good to hear that because you did the right thing, you stuck to your principles, you're getting a big check. Mega base, Jim. Glad to hear it, bro. And that means, hey, you get some extra time, maybe to do some YouTube videos, a little bit of funding in there, grow the channel. Good. Excellent. Good to hear. Amorai Boy for 2 says, do not crime on a phone or bring phone to crime. This is very true. Very, very true. These little black boxes, these little demon boxes, they are essentially recorders, both audio, visual, location, all of it. McLeod over on Rumble says, there's a reason why The Housemaid was very popular. Feminism has made most women undateable. Most men are bunks now. Yes, it's the lowest amount of sex in history, which is not a good thing. Obviously, from the Christian paradigm, you need to be married. But it's just in general, it's just young people are having almost no opposite sex interactions. The Housemaid, is that the one that I'm thinking of?
Got fixed.
And if it is the one that I'm thinking of, okay, it is. If it is the one that I'm thinking of, there are a couple other reasons why people went to go see The Housemaid, and it's this. This is the reason they went to go see The Housemaid. Okay. Yeah, there's other reasons people went to go see that movie. Mr. Noom for 5 says, this is why female boss fantasy books and TV shows are nothing but fantasy. Well, right, because in female fantasy books, they think they're the good people, but in reality, they're just monsters. Just monsters. All right, and I think that wraps us up for tonight. Richard, what have you got going on, good sir?
Hopefully got my feedback fixed. I don't know why StreamYard does that every once in a while, but I've been doing little fireside chats about once a week at least. If you guys want to come over and hang out, it's greatly appreciated. Just talk about life stuff.
Heck yeah. I'm going to drop the link for Richard's Headspace in the Rumble and YouTube chat for all of you to enjoy for the little fireside wholesome chats that he puts on over there. Thank you to everybody hanging out for supporting the stream tonight. Well, what should we talk about for a little bit of a closer? Here we go. Blackpilling is gay, okay? Because blackpilling is the only way to lose. And blackpilling is giving up, and giving up is gay, okay? Be a man, suffer, okay? Struggle, okay? It's gonna be all right. There are people who have so much less than us. There are people who have it worse than us. So commiserating and giving up, again, it's the only way to ensure your own defeat. It's the only way to ensure your own destruction. Even if you know you're going to lose, like imagine you're going into fight against a Mike Tyson. You can whine and complain and bitch the whole time and come across like a little faggot, or you can go in there and do your best and win or lose with a little bit of honor, okay? And honor is something that we should all strive for, okay? There are bad times coming, but again, the only way you can guarantee a loss is by blackpilling. And that's why we don't hand out the black pills over here, because in the end, we know Christ wins, Christ is King. God bless. Godspeed. And we will see you Friday night.
Du hast mich Mossad, we're occupied by Zog.